Hello and welcome. You're watching NewsX, a deep dive. After 5 rounds of negotiations in 2 years, the India-Oman FTA has been signed finally. On your screens, you can see the signing of the Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement, or CEPA, between the two countries. The signing took place in Muscat, Oman, during the last leg of Prime Minister's 3-nation visit to Jordan, Ethiopia and Oman. The signing was done in the presence of Prime Minister Modi and Oman Sultan Haitham bin Tariq. The commerce ministers of the two countries signed the CEPA document. India's Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal and Oman's Minister of Commerce, Industry and Investment Promotion Qais bin Mohammed Al Yusuf signed the pact. The event was attended by other dignitaries and senior officials as well, including Commerce Secretary Rajesh Agrawal. Following the signing of the free trade agreement, the Prime Minister and the Sultan of Oman exchanged a handshake, marking a key moment in bilateral ties. Sultan Haitham bin Tariq Al Sayed later conferred the Order of Oman on Prime Minister Narendra Modi, recognizing his contribution to strengthening India-Oman relations. Earlier in the day, the Sultan had accorded a ceremonial welcome to the Prime Minister at the Al Baraka Palace in Muscat, where the two leaders held talks on expanding cooperation across trade, investment and strategic sectors. The negotiations for this began in November 2023, and the 4th round began in September 2024 and the 5th round from January 2025. Let's discuss what CEPA entails for India and Oman. This FTA is quite significant for India. India will get access to 98% of its products in Oman and significant access in services. Currently, over 80% of Indian goods enter Oman at an average tariff of around 5% with CEPA. Oman will reduce or remove import duties on almost all Indian goods. As a result, about 98% of Indian products can be exported to Oman with little or no customs duty, making them cheaper and more competitive in the Omani market. Currently, Oman's 100% duty is applicable on specific meats, wines and tobacco products. Other than trade, investment flows between the two sides are also expected to benefit from the agreement. GTRI founder Rajesh Srivastav noted that for India, the agreement strengthens its economic and strategic presence in the Gulf, even as the trade gains are more incremental than transformative. Oman, in turn, stands to gain from improved access to the Indian market for energy and industrial inputs. Significantly, this is Oman's first FTA in 20 years. Oman is India's 3rd largest export destination amongst Gulf Cooperation Council countries. Beyond tariffs, the agreement covers a wide negotiating agenda, including intellectual property, government procurement, digital trade, rules of origin, customs cooperation, sanitary and phytosanitary measures, technical barriers to trade, dispute settlement, and support for small and medium-sized enterprises. These provisions are aimed at easing non-tariff barriers and improving predictability for business and both sides. With more than 6,000 India-Oman joint ventures and Indian investments exceeding $7.5 billion, particularly in the Sohar and Salalah free zones, the pact is as much about geopolitics and regional presence as it is about trade volumes. Let's see what India-Oman trade entails. Bilateral trade between the two countries stood at about $10.6 billion in 24-25, with a trade deficit of $2.48 billion. India's exports from Oman in 2025 were dominated by crude oil, liquefied natural gas and fertilizers, each valued at about $1.1 billion. Chemical inputs such as methyl alcohol and anhydrous ammonia, along with petroleum coke, are critical for India's agriculture, chemical, cement and power sectors. Oman is the 3rd largest export destination amongst Gulf Cooperation Council countries. The key exports from India include light oils and preparations, aluminium oxide, rice, machinery and mechanical appliances, electrical machinery and equipment, as well as beauty and makeup preparations, plastics, iron, steel and ceramic products. India is positioning the Gulf as a gateway to Europe and Africa through projects like the India-Middle East-Europe Economic Corridor, or the IMEC, linking Indian ports with the UAE, Saudi Arabia, Jordan and Europe via rail and sea routes. Additionally, the India-UAE Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement, signed in 2022, marked India's first major free trade pact in the Gulf, significantly deepening economic ties. The agreement reduced or eliminated tariffs on a wide range of goods and expanded market access and services, benefiting sectors such as gems and jewelry, textiles, pharmaceuticals, and IT. India has stepped up defense exercises, intelligence sharing, and maritime security cooperation with the UAE, Saudi Arabia, and Oman, strengthening its role in Indian Ocean and Gulf security architecture. Not only strategically, over 9 million Indians live and work in the Gulf, making people to people ties a strategic asset. India has enhanced labor mobility agreements, skill partnerships, and worker protection frameworks with Gulf nations. This is what Prime Minister Modi said about CEPA in Oman. Listen in.
हम एक ऐसा ऐतिहासिक निर्णय ले रहे हैं जिसकी गूंज आने वाले कई दशकों तक सुनाई देगी। कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव इकोनॉमिक पार्टनरशिप एग्रीमेंट यानी सीपा हमारी पार्टनरशिप को 21st सेंचुरी में नया विश्वास, नई ऊर्जा से भर देगा। यह हमारे साझा भविष्य का ब्लूप्रिंट है। यह हमारे ट्रेड को नई गति देगा, इन्वेस्टमेंट को नया भरोसा देगा और हर सेक्टर में अवसरों के नए द्वार खोलेगा।
Well, India's engagement with the Gulf has moved well beyond transactional ties and is now strategic, multi-sectoral and long-term. The CEPA with Oman adds yet another significant milestone, reinforcing India's expanding economic, energy and geopolitical cooperation across the Gulf region. Joining us on the program to talk more about this is Dr. Sharat Kohli, Senior Economist. Dr. Kohli, appreciate having you here. As always, well, this is an important agreement between India and Oman. What struck out to me at this point in time, that Oman has really not done an FTA with anybody else in the past couple of decades. That speaks volumes for the kind of deal that India has been able to clinch.
Good evening, Vineet, to you and NewsX viewers. Indeed, this is a landmark agreement. You're right. Oman has been very restrictive, in entering into FTAs with the rest of the world. And I'm so glad that Oman finally opened that gate to India. I mean, India becomes the first country, for that matter, to have this kind of an agreement as far as the bilateral trade is concerned. And I think the world order has changed now after the American tariffs. I think the world is changing. Countries, including India, looking for opportunities of FTA. And I think this is speeding up the FTA. I think partly we can thank Donald Trump for this because, he speeded up this whole process where the countries are sort of coming together for these agreements. I think the next target for India-Oman bilateral trade, as per my calculations, in the next 3 to 4 years, Vineet, is about $15 billion of bilateral trade. It is about between 10 and 11 as of now. And we have a sort of trade deficit with Oman. But I think with this agreement, it will open a floodgate of goods for India, because India's price is absolutely unimaginable. I mean, apart from food items, apart from pharmaceuticals, there are a lot of other things, including electronics and engineering goods, which Oman can. And we should not forget, Oman as a country may be very small. The total population of Oman may be as part of something like West Delhi or North Delhi combined. But then it is part of GCC, and it will open the gates after UAE. We have done this. The last agreement in GCC was with UAE, and this comes next. This will open the gates for other GCC countries. I'm looking at probably I'm looking at Kuwait. I'm looking at other GCC nations in the times to come, and this will open the whole region. And with this IMEC, the India Middle East corridor, I think this is a very strategic arrangement, because India is looking at channelizing its trade and bypassing the Chinese corridor, giving competition to that, and reaching out to Europe and rest of that region. So I think a very important agreement as far as I'm concerned. I think it is a landmark. A common man watching television, me and you talk at this point of time, may just feel that this is another piece of news, India and Oman. What difference does it make to my life? But I would like to emphasize here, yes, it does make a difference, because if tomorrow our products reach Oman, in a with zero tariff and with 98% of the items finding their way into Oman, you could be the next exporter, because as of now, there were 5% tariff levied on Oman on Indian exports. But there were a lot of items which were price sensitive. That is, after levying 5%, this is very important. After levying 5%, a lot of Indian goods were not able to compete with goods, let's say, coming from China. Now, with these tariffs removed, I think this would open floodgate of opportunity for the exporters into manufacture of various kind of things. And one should not feel that Oman is a small country, so how much can it consume? How much can a population of 5 to 6 million people consume? No, that's not the thing. It is a GCC member, and there's a lot of trade which happens within the GCC. We should not forget the entire GCC region. Any country you reach, we just had it with Jordan. Any country you do, you are basically entering another door of GCC for that matter. So I think it should be the size of Oman for that matter, because the size of our trade beneath with Oman is because of energy. There's a lot of crude oil we are importing from Oman, and there is a lot of liquefied petroleum and processed oil that we are sending back to Oman. So that constitutes a substantial part. But then now, I think we are going to see a paradigm shift in trade not being restricted only and only to energy sector. You will see Oman becoming a doorway for rest of the GCC countries, and a lot of Indian exporters explore the opportunities now. So this is where it impacts the common man, because when the exporters start exporting, the entire MSME satellite industry around that starts getting a flutter there, because you start getting orders, you start testing your goods, and you might become a direct exporter tomorrow yourself, and then they import. There are a lot of good things which Oman sells. We can probably get them here. So I think this should be looked at from a wider perspective, and not just an FTA, affecting every single citizen of the country in some way or the other in the times to come beneath.
Dr. Kohli, always a pleasure having you. Thank you so much for sharing your perspective on this important FTA that came through. We take a short break now. We'll be right back.